Hello, everyone. Welcome to That Eurovision Sites YouTube channel. My name is Janek. I use any pronouns. I am joined here by Helen and Angus. Helen uses she, her pronouns, Angus uses he, him pronouns. This is the first video after Eurovision 2023. So we are finally done with the season. We are preparing ourselves mentally and physically for Eurovision 2024 and Junior Eurovision 2023. It was announced that Junior Eurovision 2023 will be hosted in, is it pronounced nice or Nice in English? I don't remember.
Nice. It's
Nice,
pronounced
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because in Polish we call it Nica, so I wanted to ask. I think it was late November. I don't remember exactly. Thankfully, late November, not another situation from last year where everyone's sick in December. So hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be fine. We have some countries returning to the Junior Eurovision. This will be the first ever Junior Eurovision where all the big five countries are taking part as well. So that's exciting to hear. And of course, we are preparing ourselves for Eurovision 2024. And what a great way to start the season is just to recap what happened the last couple of weeks. Mostly last week because of the shows that were happening. Of course, the contest was hosted in Liverpool on behalf of Ukraine. The show were probably a merge of the UK and Ukrainian cultures and arts. I kind of saw there was more of the UK side at some point. Unfortunately, I wish there was more leanings to Ukraine, but whatever. We aren't the broadcaster. We don't decide what is on the show. But overall, I thought it was an amazing week. So our first discussions, I think we should start with the hosts. Semifinal 1 and 2 was hosted by Julia Sanina, Hannah Waddington, and Alessia Dixon. In the final, Graham Norton joined the girls in hosting. And overall, what were our opinions about the hosts this year?
Well, first, I want to preface this by saying that Hannah Waddingham is my wife. No, I've been a big fan of hers for a while, and I'm currently watching the season of Ted Lasso. But that aside, all three of them were really great, and not just on the live broadcast. Some of us were able to cover rehearsals, and I was able to go to one of the preview shows. And it's so nice to see, even when things aren't going like perfectly or they're still working things out, just how professional they all are, but they're also having a bit of fun at the same time. Hannah was particularly great at that. But I just thought they had a really good chemistry together, all of them, including Graham when he was on stage. I think he joked in the second semi when they spoke to him for a second. He's just like, "What do you need me for?" And in the back of my head, I was like, that's a good question, Graham. But I get it. He's the face of Eurovision in the UK, or rather the voice of Eurovision in the UK. And I thought, I'm going to be honest, I actually preferred his hosting to his being in the commentary box. I think he's a good host on his own talk show, so maybe he works better in that context. But I mean, all of them were great. I feel like Alicia was kind of playing the straight woman throughout the week, except for when she did the rap, which we saw. The rehearsal audience, I don't know if they were there for that, but I mean, the live audience was. In the rehearsal that we saw, it was stand-ins with her instead of the actual artist, which was also fun because they all had just like duct tape on their chest, being like who they're supposed to be. It was hilarious. And then, I mean, Hannah Waddingham was just a goddess. Like, I mean, what else is there to say? I think she will go down as probably one of like the most beloved Eurovision hosts. Certainly like a Petra Meda or a Filomena Cotella, who I was glad to see back in the intervals this year. But I think they lent such a lovely vibe. And then also Julia was great, and she was funnier than I thought she would be on stage. And her and Hannah together were just fantastic. But I think hosting wise, I think this is probably one of the best like overall teams that we've seen. And poor Hannah and Graham had to later on in the night of the grand final had to deal with a little bit of a rowdy audience. So, I mean, kudos to them for really like, yeah, just trying to keep it professional. So yeah, that was good.
I mean, I can start by just echoing that the host did a great job. I mean, as some of the viewers/listeners might know, I'm still like the number one person of saying that Nigella Lawson should have had some form of hosting gig. This wasn't my host. These wouldn't have been the people I chose to host, but that's also because I'm not as familiar with them. And like, I'll also maybe say that I think they did a great job. Graham was superfluous. I did not need him. Like, was he competent? Yes. Did he do a good enough job that I'm not unhappy he was there? Sure. But he wasn't needed for me. The host did a good job. That they kept everything just moving along quickly. We didn't really have any big delays because of them. They were funny enough, but also serious when they needed to be. The one note I would have that I'm like, this could be improved, but that's more of a Eurovision problem. And I think it was also because of the hall and some other things, especially during the final. Even when they were sitting in the green room talking with someone, it started feeling a bit shouty at times. Like the hosts were getting overwhelmed by the audience. And we could still hear them fine because their microphones were good, but I think they did not necessarily have the same faith in their microphones they could have had, which made for some slightly less than it could have been pleasant listening. But that is it's such a minor thing. And just with a bit more rehearsing, as Helen just said, maybe the rehearsal audience wasn't as into it as there might have also been other years. That also makes it harder for the presenters to practice with that. And that might have been a small thing. But I mean, if that's the kind of nitpicking you start to do, that just shows that we had a really good presenting team. I would say I really commend the whole team for just working together so well, because that is definitely a problem when you have 3 or even 4 people that need to do the hosting.
Yeah, I would say that everyone was everyone every year is talking about the hosts. Everyone is bringing up 2016 Moss and Petra, and I think it's a wild thing to say, but I think for me, this year's host beat them. Like, I had more fun this year with the host than in 2016. Graham, I agree, he wasn't needed there at all. I think the girls for themselves would have been fine. I still don't know why he was brought to the final. I don't know. I think if during the points, I thought it would be so great if they let Hannah and Julia do the votes, and let Julia Salina speak in Ukrainian during the points. Let Hannah do English, French, and Julia do Ukrainian as well. I thought that would have been an amazing touch to what the contest was this year about. Alicia, she was great. I'm kind of sad because we didn't see a lot of her. I thought she wasn't as present as the other, especially in the semifinals. I thought she wasn't appearing that much. In the grand final as well, I thought she appeared a few times and didn't that much. Hannah Waddington, this was a discovery for me. I knew of Hannah because of some of her theater work. I heard of her name. I wasn't like that much. I didn't see any of her performances, but I heard of her because of her theater work. And of Ted Lasso as well, I heard amazing things about Ted Lasso, and when she was announced, I was like, oh, this is I remember recognizing from there. And I would say she's one of the best hosts we had in Eurovision. She was so enthusiastic. She this was her second hosting gig as well. Like, and the first gig she hosted was the Olivier Awards, which is literally insane for me. She did so well. She interacted with the other hosts so well, with the artists, with the audience. There was some silly comments she did as well. There is that one clip from the jury show, I think, when someone screams very loudly Portugal. I was like, shush. And everyone starts to laugh in the audience, which was like amazing. She is a discovery for me, and I am a person who has a big problem with watching TV shows because of attention span and as well, but I am gonna give Teresa a chance for sure. And Julia, people who know me know I am the biggest the Hardkiss stan, and when she was announced, I was like, oh yes, now I need an interval act from them. Literally every night she can sing, and I am so happy for her. She did an amazing job. I was expecting her to do worse because of the the English language barrier, because of course she's the only non-English speaker from the four, but she did so well as well. Her interaction with Hannah was amazing, and I am so happy for Julia. Apparently she wants to go to Eurovision, but I don't know if it will happen because of the 2014 rule for VDP as well, because that's a shame. But the hard case in Eurovision, I would die and die again. My only pet peeve for the hosts are that please learn how to speak a bit of Ukrainian. Like, you are pronouncing Julia instead of Julia. Like, that one part, like, they could have made them say Julia instead, but that's just a small little thing that I think I am. Maybe some people don't mind. I mind it because it's a language that is very close to what I speak, which is like it's a bit pet peeve, and her name is pronounced Julia, not Julia. So that's that's a small thing that that among many pluses as well. Of course, let's talk about the shows itself. What were some of your favorite interval acts, and overall, what did you like from these performances? Not contestants, but interval acts and openers and closers.
Overall, I think it was a good variety of interval acts. I think they did a good job of involving Ukrainian artists and UK talent. I think probably, if I could say, my least favorite one, and it's not because she did a bad job, it was just kind of the least memorable one, was Rita Ora in the first semifinal. It was fine. I mean, she delivered it. She did a good job. I'll check out the song. But it felt more kind of, I'm here to promote my new thing rather than kind of being a part of the show, if that makes sense. My friend apparently ran into Taika Waititi in Liverpool, who is her husband. But he was, I mean, they left like the day after the semifinal, obviously, when she wasn't needed anymore. But I was just like, oh man. But that piece with Rebecca Ferguson and Alyosha, when we saw it in the arena, it was just magical. You know, a lot of what you see on the TV was basically like what we saw in the stadium. There weren't a lot of like in-screen effects. It was stunning. It was gorgeous. They sounded amazing. And I mean, it was just stunning. I loved the drag act in the second semifinal. And good on Hannah on Instagram. I think she actually went out and credited all of the drag artists that were involved, because I don't think they said it on the well, maybe they did briefly.
They were announced like after performing day. She said who was there, but on the Eurovision social media they weren't tagged.
Right. Okay. But yeah, so Hannah went and credited them on Instagram, which I appreciate it. And also she was great with them in rehearsal because the opening to that bit was going to be a lot different, where it was just Hannah and like Yulia and Alicia would have already been queenified, if you say. And so she was supposed to have dialogue where she was talking up to them, but also had to look at the teleprompter. And so there was a lot of like, figuring out what to work, and eventually we came to what we did. So it was very interesting to see that come together. But I especially in a time where we're seeing a lot of unfortunate legislation being passed in the US and the UK, and a lot of ideas where we have drag bans coming into place. There's a lot of pride events now that are being canceled in the US based on state laws. And to see, like, we know Drag Race is a big thing, but this is a huge audience that gets to see the joy of be what they say, like being who you want to be. And for me, that meant a lot to see that on such a huge stage. And I'm kind of glad actually that they didn't go for queens who had been known to be on Drag Race, actually. So these queens now have this platform to go off of. And if they ever get on Drag Race, I will root for them. But man. And then I need to pull up the list because they're all kind of, this whole like last week is all just blending together in my brain because it was great, but it was exhausting. The Liverpool songbook was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I felt like seeing Mahmood stand there and do Imagine was interesting. And Duncan doing You'll Never Walk Alone it was lovely, but also a little bit hilarious and ironic. If you know, you know. For many reasons, but one that I love is that the song actually isn't from Liverpool. It's written for a Broadway show from like the 50s that big old masculine footy fans from Liverpool have now taken on, which is just so funny to me. But I think we got to see Dathly on stage, which was lovely. And also he was in the delegation in the green room on Thursday, which is lovely to see. Yeah, I mean, just wow. Angus, you talk.
I mean, yeah, what else is there to say, really? Karina Jacobs was great. That's not the Mel C song I would have picked for her, but that is a me thing. I guess you can all guess which song I would have picked for her. Beyond like the intervals were good. The thing is, I do think these intervals are not necessarily going to go down in history, not as the complete packages at least, because as such they're not intervals that you would watch by themselves, but as a part of the show, also conveying the meaning of Eurovision and why Eurovision is now in the UK, but why there's also Ukrainian, etc., etc. To also the casual viewers who are only tuning into this, sometimes even by accident, basically. It did that job, and it kept things entertaining, especially like the info acts have a tough job because the EBU still hasn't quite figured out how to keep the sequence entertaining from beginning of voting to getting the results. Like there's still entertainment work that could be done there, but I do think that these intervals, at least, they kept things moving. It never felt like things were dragging on. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be very skeptical of people covering Duran. So me being positive about the Rebecca Ferguson Alyosha Ordinary World cover says a lot, I think. Yeah, it's also become all a bit of a mush. There's a few moments I can distinctly remember as positives, like also Dathly and Cornelia. Not for me, but I was watching it with some friends that aren't Eurovision fans, and when Mahmoud came on stage to sing Imagine, they were like, he's struggling to sing this. I'm like, I didn't want to say anything, but yes. I mean, that's a shame to say, obviously, because he does have to carry off the opening of the interval. So I think a bit of rejiggering again could have been done, but as such, I was very impressed with just the full package, and also that we got the drag queens, which was very happy to see, just more of that just queer joy as well being represented on stage. Yeah, no, it was just a really good overall show, but no like really individual standout moments for me.
I'm just gonna echo the everyone because of the drag interval act, especially because this was in the semifinal too, the semifinal which Poland was in. So everyone from Poland who was tuning in at that night had to see that act, and like, ha, we got you. Especially because the Haupe had to as well show the interval act, so that's a win for me. Some of my like biggest favorites of the interval acts. First of all, Mayaki, that Julia sang in semifinal 1, Elbop, and her performing it was amazing, and just as I'm the hardest stan, I just had to echo it because their music is so good, and I'm happy that she was able to perform a song as well. All the Ukrainian arts as well in semi-final 1 2, amazing. The flag parade from the grand final was amazing. This was the best flag parade we had in a very long time. I would say that for me, this is my favorite flag parade that we had. The mixture of the UK songs that are probably popular UK songs being being played, and then we have an Ukrainian artist singing, and ex-Eurovision artist as well. We had Tina Karol, we had Jamala, we had Goey, we had Verka, and overall I forgot to mention Kalush also as an opener, amazing. And I'm gonna echo Angus because Cornelia Jacobs, what a woman you are. As a massive Cornelia fan, that was an experience and a half. Like when I first heard that she was going to do Answer to You, I was like, this isn't a Cornelia style song. That doesn't fit her. But she took this song and made it her own. And that was the most Cornelia sounding song I heard, even though it's cover. Literally. And she announced a tour a few days later, and you can catch me in Warsaw. I will be there. I will be there singing with her at the concert. Just this year happened to me because I have never been a person who was like, I want to go to concerts, and this year changed me because I want to go to so many concerts because of the artists that were in this year. Like earlier today, I was thinking of going to Latvia for a festival because some lines were there. So that's how my life is right now. So yeah, I think overall, as you've heard, we really like the host, the shows. So let's talk about some results. I think we should start with the semifinal results, do 1 and 2 together, and just do something. That's what we thought of the results of them together, and we will do grand final separately. So Helen, let's start with the semifinal 1 and 2.
Semifinal 1, first of all, that was the show that we went to, and incredible. Everything I wanted it to be, except for a inebriated woman who was sat next to my partner screaming at us. But you know, that's that. There were a lot of inebriated people there, especially at the final. But I think semifinal 1, I think was probably, like as we expected, I think was probably the easiest to predict. I think in the end, I had 9 of the 10 qualifiers correct. So just to round off qualifying, we had Finland won the semi with Sweden in second, followed by Israel, Czechia, Moldova, Norway, Switzerland, Croatia, Portugal, and then Serbia. Which meant that unfortunately Malta, Latvia, Azerbaijan, and the Netherlands and Ireland did not qualify. I think the one that I'm most gutted about not making it, and who I would have swapped Switzerland. I think Switzerland was kind of a surprise, especially in a televote only semifinal. I was really bummed for Malta. I mean, the arena absolutely loved them. They were having such a good time and really good production value, and they've just been the nicest people. I mean, like it is sad because then that's the point where we realize we've been with these people all season, and we have to not necessarily lose because we'll follow them throughout their careers, but they weren't going to make it to Saturday, so it was going to be sad no matter who didn't make it. But I think absolutely no shock to see that Finland won that, but perhaps maybe not by as big of a margin as people predicted. Serbia coming in 10th was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought maybe I think we all kind of thought when the results came up, at least I thought that Switzerland probably squeaked in, but that I think came in, I think, what did I say, seventh or sixth, seventh or eighth, like pretty comfortably in seventh. So I mean, but I mean, I'm not like the Latvia stan in the room, but I did want them to make it through. I think they sent something very, very quality. And it's just a shame that they got put in the tough semi. Personally, would have swapped Israel for them, but we'll get to that later. So, semi two. I think semi two was the much more interesting one in terms of like who was going to make it, because it was a lot more open. And I think when they announced the qualifiers, they kept it kind of open throughout. Like they didn't announce Austria right away. They didn't announce Belgium right away. So for semi two, Australia won semi two, which I was a little bit surprised by, followed by Austria, Poland, Lithuania, Slovenia, Armenia, Cyprus, Belgium, Albania, and then Estonia, quite comfortably in 10th place. I think in semi one, there was about a 3-point gap between 10th and 11th, whereas in semi two, there was about a 30-point gap, which unfortunately meant that we lost Denmark, Romania, Iceland, Greece, Georgia, and San Marino. And I want to say, thank God that we abandoned the original way they were going to announce the qualifiers, because we saw the pictures. God bless the delegations. They were leaking everything this year. They said, no press, fine, we'll do it ourselves. And I just, even though it was a rehearsal, obviously, but like you could still see people very nervous up there. And I'm so glad we never had to see that was scrapped after the first rehearsal. We never had to see the teenagers in the other semifinal have to get up there and do that, because unfortunately neither of them qualified. And not. I think we can say that their broadcasters kind of left them out to dry. So I'm, sad as I am for both of them, because by all accounts, again, they're lovely people. But I'm glad that they were able to basically have that not have to be very publicly on display when they didn't make it, and they were able to be surrounded by the people in their delegation for that. I'm surprised actually that Belgium got through in 8, because well, I mean, he got kind of a lower televote score in the final, but the arena was just loving it. And again, just queer joy. Please give us more of it. It was amazing. I didn't realize the name of the drag artist until Rylan said it on the broadcast. To which I said, "Is it past 9 p.m. yet?" No, it's fine. It's the act. Yeah, things you're allowed to say before the watershed. I thought Austria, I think, predictably lost a little bit of momentum going to the live from music video, but still, I think they managed to do a really good job. So, again, I'm very sad for Georgia. I thought they would be able to squeak through. I think those last three, once we got to Lithuania was announced, when Poland was announced, and we still had Australia and a couple other hitters to go, I was just like, I don't think it's gonna happen for her. And again, thank God she didn't have to be on stage for that, because unfortunately we saw later that she was very distraught by it. But apparently now wants to come back again. So you know what? Come back stronger. But yeah, I think, you know, bar some misses, it was a good crop that made for a good show in the final, I think.
I mean, were these my? I never gave an official prediction. We'll keep my personal feelings towards some of these songs out of it because I don't want to rant. But as such, I'm not as surprised as people were that Switzerland qualified or even qualified a completely. Looking back at it, like at the time, I did same with semi-final 2 for myself. I was trying to convince myself that one of my favorites might go through because I knew in each of them I would lose 2. I already feared as much. So I was trying to convince myself, but Switzerland was the only like real ballad in that like of the powerful variety as well, which do tend to get a fair televote. So I was like, they do have that difference factor already, which should help them a lot, which did. I mean, did help Remo qualify and with a fair margin. And if you then look at Alika got a not too dissimilar televote amount in semi-2. I mean, that only saw her qualify in 10th place, but still, it's you do see there's like this 80 to 90 point range that a ballad can get in a 14, 15, 16 country semi-final. I was surprised to see Malta last. I think every Euro fan expected a different country to be last. I'll say as much because I know that delegation does sometimes seem to engage with what people are saying. A delegation that does not engage with what people are saying that did finish last was Romania, although it's a bit unclear. I believe officially San Marino's placed 15th and Romania 16th, but based on the usual rules, it actually should be the other way around because both of them scored 0 points, which is actually quite wild that 2 countries scored full zeros. I find that a clear sign of what my problems, for example, are with the pure televote semi-final. So according to the EBU rules, if I understood them correctly, San Marino should be ranked last. Either way, I actually liked both songs, which puts me in a minority, I know, but it's a shame to see them go out like that. But as such, I was not ready to lose both Iceland and Georgia, but I was convincing myself like, oh, Cyprus will make it through. But then I was thinking like, oh, but you know, he sings it all right. He has the Australian and the Greek vote on his side, some other things that add up, and suddenly you're like, yeah, he could qualify. Poland and Lithuania, I saw also people talk about the probable non-qualifiers, but they end up sailing through easily, which if you looked at it from slightly outside of the Eurovision fan bubble, I think also was a lot more obvious to expect at least. The question I only have, as much as I'm now saying like, oh, I don't like these televote only semifinals, like how much would a jury have changed? Because first of all, there's quite the point gap, especially in semi-final 2. So like obviously it would have changed the ranking of some songs, but how much would it have changed the qualifiers? And sure, it might have helped Latvia qualify over Serbia, but that's not nearly a given because Serbia did get fair, like not many, but like a few jury points. I'm not sure if Latvia would have scored that many either, because everything seems so random at times, the results this year. I mean, at that point, you might almost start thinking, oh yeah, Ireland could have made up that 25-point gap and qualified, and we would have all thought that was wild if that had happened in this hypothetical universe. So who is to say? I genuinely don't know if a jury would have changed the qualifiers this year. That doesn't mean that I'm against the juries being reintroduced, quite to the contrary, but it's interesting to think about it like that.
So overall, my opinions about the semifinal results is that they were so predictable. Literally, this year was so predictable, the results, and it's just I don't know if it was just fun, but it's like I was like watching the qualifiers. I'm like, okay, where is the spice? Where are the surprises? Where is the Iceland of last year? where is the Portugal of 2021? Like, where is the spice? Like, where is the spice? So I'm gonna start with semifinal 2 because I thought the 10 qualifiers were going. I thought they were very much what I was expecting. I am so happy Alika qualified because we really need songs like that in the final. We can't have 10 up-tempo songs qualifying from final because it will probably just damage the contest as well. So Alika qualifying to the final and lastly in the final finishing 8th. That's I'm really happy for that. From semi to I'm so happy for Armenia because that performance was just amazing. Like that dance break just got me when I saw it for the first time. I know I'm not the biggest fan of dance breaks that are forcefully introduced to the song, but from what Punet said, dance break was there from the beginning, but she decided to to hide it from the recording, the studio version, and hide it until the Eurovision. And no one knew about the dance break until the day before semifinal 2, which was just amazing. But overall, from the non-qualifiers, I'm really gutted for Iceland because I thought Power was very, very good. But that staging just gave me nothing. There were some moments that I thought were really, really pretty, that the LED interacted with her, but it felt very dark and very empty, like her being on her own. Of course, Georgia, I wanted Georgia to break their non-qualification streak. Them and Latvia are buddies in crime with the last qualification being 2016, which is just insane to even think about that. Especially knowing Latvia and Georgia are sending quality songs a few years. Not surprised Australia won semi because there was a strong closer. Surprised that they flopped so hard in the televoting final compared. Gustav literally 8th in the semi and being the highest scoring semi-final 2 artist in the final as well. That gif of a woman being locked by accident in someone's garage. That's Gustav the whole season, literally the whole season. I really wish they arranged the qualifiers a bit differently because we're going like, okay, there are 3 countries left to qualify. We are having Australia, Armenia, Slovenia. No one else, literally no one else. So that's a shame. Austria doing well as well, amazing compared to what grand final results, which is just a horrible to do. Like, why are you putting one of the fan favorites as an opener of the grand final? This happened this year with Austria. This happened last year with Czechia, which is just, and both of them finished second, I think, in the semifinal as well, which is just insane to me. Semifinal 1. This was the most predictable qualifiers I have ever seen in my life. Literally, I was listening to everything, was going, okay, fair. Why did they leave Norway for last? We knew literally the moment Norway was last one, everyone knew Norway was qualifying. Literally, no one else thought was qualifying. Of course, I got it for Latvia. People who follow me on Twitter, I'm sorry if you saw me at the semifinal 1 because I was spamming so hard to people to vote for Latvia, and they almost did it. People were predicting they are finishing dead last. People thought they will be so far down, dead last in the semi, and we proved them wrong. We are so close, so freaking close.
I mean, Latvia would never have finished last considering some of the songs in that semi-final.
Everyone was saying, oh, they will die because of running order. Songs around them, they will be, can't stand out. 11th place. 4 points needed to qualify, which is just, for me, it might be a win because we proved everyone wrong. Everyone was like, people were calling Malta and Netherlands safer qualifiers than Latvia. I was like, am I so hyper fixated on Aya this year that I just don't see what people are talking about? Second one, it's a shame that
Possibly.
they qualify because I thought that was the best performance of the semi because I literally, this was the only performance that was like I was sitting I just admiring everything that was happening on my screen. Second one was Armenia in semi 2, but literally my favorite of semi 1 was Latvia even before without my hyperfixations, but literally the best performance of the night for me. I'm gutted that the 10th place was for Serbia because is it a win if Latvia qualifies but Serbia doesn't? For me, because they are both in my top 10, and I grew so much attachment to Luke. And a lot of people who I know on Twitter who are also IR stans, they also really love Sama Mustafa. And both of us were like, okay, so we would have lost one of the faves either way, which is just a shame. Portugal, I was very happy for her because that performance gave me nothing in the semi. Like maybe in the grand final, I kind of grew on me because my Latvia stan brain kind of calmed down and could enjoy everything in semi too. I have a lot of problems with water gun. I talk about it a lot, how much I dislike water gun and what it stands for. It's very tone deaf. For me, as a person who is from Eastern Europe, and we are very close to the what's happening, and just it felt so tone deaf, and it being literally 7th place and being awarded for that. For me, it's a bit of a shame. But for each their own. Croatia 8th, amazing. I thought they were. I kind of agreed with everyone that maybe not in the semi they won't do as well as the final, and I kind of saw because I preferred the final performance compared to semi. I don't know why, because I enjoyed it more. Not surprised. Finland won. Looking at what the final results were, Sweden second, also understandable. Israel third. My opinions aside, literally the way Unicorn was written, being literally a bait for everyone to enjoy because it was everything at once, like vocals, song to an enjoyable song, a choreo, which is just a silly little Eurovision bait, and I was expecting to do well, even to my disliking of the song. So happy for Vesna. 4th place, amazing. Such a shame that the televote was so bad in the the final. Czechia, that performance was very, very beautiful. My favorite part, I think, when I at first I was like, didn't understand it that well, but the moment it hit me about staging was the final minute, like the angelic chorus, and when they start spinning in duos, that brought me to tears because it was simple staging but so impactful. And I am so happy for Czechia because this was the first time the Czech language was sung in a grand final as well, and it's a second best result for Czechia as well. So amazing. Moldova did poorly in this fifth. I was expecting top 3 for Pasha. Norway 6th. Fair. She opened the show, so she kinda got lost in the crowd. But yeah, Switzerland, Croatia, Portugal, and Serbia were the borderline. Malta being last was a big surprise for me. I was not expecting that at all. I think no one expected that at all because there was a lot of locals actually really liked Malta. I talked about Latvia as well. I won't continue. Ireland finishing 12th, I was surprised about that because that performance was not the best. Azerbaijan 14th. This grew a lot on me actually, but I was expecting it to not do well. Second to last, and third to last we have Netherlands. That was to be expected. There was such a roller coaster couple of weeks. I am really gutted for, especially for Mia, because I thought she was the only one from the duo who had hopes, still had hopes to qualify. Because when you're looking at at Dion and Mia in the green room, Dion looked like he gave up on life. He gave up on life, and he wasn't. He knew that they weren't going through. Mia had hopes, and bless her for that. I love Burning the Light.
Duncan wasn't even there.
Wasn't he?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. I know if I can curse, but
This is what I was alluding to about the irony earlier.
It made it so that he helps us not qualify, and then a few days later he's like,
yeah.
"Hi, I'm here with
I'm
the
surprised.
bestie."
I'm surprised because he was there at the rehearsals with them. So that's why I'm like, what is going on with you? Duncan is an interesting individual. But yeah, I actually really love Burning the Light. I listen to it a lot in studio, not in the live performance studio. And overall, I thought it was such a well done because they had to like bring the key higher even. I'm like, why
Can
higher?
we talk about his songwriter on Arcade? He co-wrote Estonia
Estonia.
song.
And
So
finished
he
eighth
had a
in
song in the grand final.
called
And
Bridges.
Duncan didn't.
And Duncan didn't. Okay.
I wonder how Mia sung in the Romanian national final. Was Romania or Moldova? She was in one of the national finals. She had the song. I wonder how that would have done this year Eurovision.
Okay, let's move on to the final and just discuss the results because this is a very hot topic right now. Not the shop. Not hot topic shop, but overall a hot topic on the
I don't
social
know.
media.
They might start stocking Claudia merch.
Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. Because Cha-Cha-Cha is becoming so viral on everything. Like, even radios in not Finland. Imagine being a 30-something-year-old woman sitting in your 9 to 5 job at some corporation in the UK, listening to the radio, and you see a Finnish man screaming to the microphone about wanting to get drunk so he can be more feminine. I'm like, that's iconic. That's iconic. So yeah, let's move on to the results of grand final. Start with Helen.
So I had a panic attack in the Euro Village during the voting. I've talked about it extensively on my Twitter. It was the result. I feel like it was expected and also unexpected at the same time. I think we all kind of knew that Loren was going to win, probably going to win the jury. I don't think any of us, at least in the Euro Village anyways, although to be fair, we were all quite inebriated by the end of the night. Not me, I just had like one thing of cider. But like, certainly, I don't think we expected her to get as many jury points as she did. I think at the end of the jury score, from what I could discern, I had to go back and watch it later, which I'll mention it a teeny bit, but like, so I am neurodivergent and so is my partner, and we had like emailed ahead of time to see like, if things got overwhelming, are we allowed to leave and come back to the Euro Village, or if we can't, is there like a space where we can go? And I got a really not great flippant answer from the organizers, which is basically like, if you leave, you're not allowed to come back in, even if. But anyways, so that I'm not saying that was a contributing factor to how my night went, but that crowd in the arena and in the Euro Village were firmly on the Finland train, as was Europe, basically, the public anyways. Like I have videos on my phone of like, so like when in that middle of the show where I think it was Finland and then Czechia and then Australia and then Belgium. So like a bunch of really up-tempo bangers all in a row. Everyone was kind of sitting during the ballad part and whatever. And as soon as like we saw the Finland postcard, everybody just like rose up because they knew what time it was. So I think I'm a little bit disappointed, particularly with how much Loreen ran away with the jury's by. I think I've seen the video from the jury show because there were rumors that she had not had a great performance, and so that was making me feel a little bit of type of way when I saw all the 12s coming in. And in hindsight, it wasn't as bad as people had made it out to be. And I can't deny that she is a great performer. She went out there and did her job. It's not her fault. It's not Kadia's fault. By all accounts, they've been absolutely lovely to each other. And so I do just want to say that like I'm a bit kind of sad at how people are kind of, the more toxic ends of the fandom are kind of coming after each other in that respect, including after me. There are a lot of Sweden flags clowning me for having a mental health emergency, which I didn't appreciate, unfortunately. But I think it was the correct top two. I probably would have had the margin a little bit closer. And Kadia, we didn't know it at the time, the tied for the second highest televote score ever, tied with Salvador. We knew that no one was going to do Kalush's numbers from last year. That's probably going to, unless like a whole bunch of countries join the contest, we're probably not going to see that number for a very, very, very long time and under very specific circumstances. Israel third boggled me a little bit. But I guess in hindsight, I'm not entirely shocked. I think I have my opinions about the song and Israel in the contest in general, but for what it was, I think vocally, I think she was probably one of the most solid of the girl pop songs of the night. I think she had a really good running order. By all accounts, she killed it at the jury show. And in terms of what juries kind of tend to like on the up-tempo side of things, I felt like this ticked a lot of the boxes. Australia, I'm glad that Australia got a top 10 because there are still questions about whether they're going to come back, and I would love to see them continue, especially with a great result, even with a slightly lower televote. Germany did not deserve last. I know it's a show, somebody has to come last. I get it, but I felt like the narrative going in, really across all of the big five, was that this was one of the strongest fields that we've sent in years. And I certainly had my questions about, for example, how the public might perceive Spain's entry, which was unfortunate because it does not deserve to have the same amount of televote points as Do It For Your Lover. Awful. But
and fewer than Electro Velvet.
Yeah, but that being said, if we're gonna talk about like what the number of like the points, as we go down the table, yes, we had some big point getters up top, but last place finished with double-digit points, and I think we had triple-digit totals going all the way down to 17th place. I want to say. Whatever. Yeah, so Spain finished in 17th with 100 points, which, I mean, this is one of the more, yes, we had like a lot of vote getters at the top, but I think one of the more evenly distributed ones as we kind of go down the table, which was nice to see. Like, no one has to finish. It sucks to finish last, but they're going to be fine. They're going on tour with Iron Maiden, so like, I was very sad to see Serbia down at the bottom and Slovenia down at the bottom. I thought the televote might have come for them more, but again, they've got their plans. They're going to be fine. And I think that's what I kind of hope people take away, especially like the ones that kind of finished a little bit further down the table. Like, this is not going to end your career. You know, there's stuff that's going to come after. You know, May has a top 10 hit in the UK now. And so, like, you know, your career is not over if you don't do well, in air quotes, at Eurovision. And I think that's something to really take away from this, because nobody did a bad job. It was such a really stacked final. I think it really kind of came down to running order. Austria. I was very sad by that. But I mean, I guess I'm a bit biased because I had like my, you know, lovely experience in the year being around a bunch of Euro fans, which I never get to do. But I thought the show itself, like, everybody just went out there and gave it, and the chips fell where they did. I might talk about just jury stuff a little bit later, but that's kind of where my impression is at the moment.
I still don't understand how, like, sure, Israel doing well, whatever. How well they did with the jury still baffles me personally, especially like I heard some stuff about like, yes, she did well in the jury, but there was like a problem with taking off her pants for the dance break thing. I'm like, you should really take that into it. But that's nitpicking, and that's also, I do not like the song. I think listeners will not be surprised. People know my stance on the songs. People know I'm not like the other kids. Sweden and Finland weren't high in my rankings either, but I do understand why they did so well. I do think it's interesting. I mean, it's nothing new, but it's interesting to see that despite Cha 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 winning the televote, and also most people seemingly liking it more, at least being more vocal about it, we do see that, at least from a commercial point of view, at this point in time, Tutu is doing better. So that it's interesting to consider how the televote reflects on who is actually watching, who is actually voting of the watchers, and also what the song then does outside of the contest. I think that's especially important to keep in mind for the people that are saying like, oh, you need to have the televote to weigh heavier for the contest to remain relevant or interesting to viewers. I don't think that argument is entirely fair. Yes, Sweden ran away a bit with it in the jury vote, and it made not for a great viewing experience personally. Like, it takes all the excitement out of it. And obviously, if you present it the other way around, maybe we've been like, wow, Finland really is racking up those 12 points, from the televote. And then we suddenly saw Sweden get all those jury votes. Like, there's no great way of presenting it when one country dominates the one side and another country sort of dominates the other side, at least when it comes to 12 points, like the big announcement bet. I was happy to see Belgium as well as it did. I've become a big fan of Gustav over the season. He's just a great personality for also Eurovision itself, and he just had such great. He seemed to just make everyone so happy. I'm just happy to see that he finished this high from. I will keep on this. The frankly unmitigated disaster that was the Eurosong België announcement. And just all the rumors were going like, oh, it's going to last this many weeks, and people are going to present 2 songs each, but not like, there was a lot of confusion from VRT, from the broadcaster itself, being sent to us. So I'm glad that everything worked out the way it did. Happy to see Australia do relatively well, Czechia do relatively well. Sad for some of my faves not doing as well. I think, like, on the one hand, all these results make sense, but by making sense, I feel flabbergasted by them, because usually, like, there are more surprises, or there is more like, okay, at least I understand how I got these points. But with a lot of these, I'm at a loss to explain it. Actually, I would have expected Italy to get slightly more televote points. Not many, but just a little bit more. Not that it would have been my choice, to be clear. We all know my loathing for Italian men, and that extends to Marco Mangoni. But that he got more points from the jury, even if it was just 2 more, surprised me. But no, overall, like, yeah, the televotes were a bit shocking, but I guess that might also be because we now have the televote only semifinals, and I don't know how much also the producers consider it might have changed the running order approach for the final because of them, and that raises so many questions that we obviously can't answer unless we have a bit more data. So we need multiple years of this, which we're probably not getting to. TVU surely is changing things up, if not next year, then the year after that. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how this all develops. And this, yeah, it's sad to see Germany last again after they genuinely tried. And I fear the most for what my second country might be planning for next year. I'm genuinely worried. I just hope that Lord of the Lost, they were great ambassadors, I think, really, for Eurovision, both inside Germany and with outside of it. And just their former and continued success as a rock band, at least, sees people not sees artists and the general German public at least keep some interest in Eurovision, because with seemingly half of the faces of Eurovision in Germany also retiring, it's a wild time there.
So first opinion is that the juries should be revamped. In a way, not to remove them overall. You have 5 people who have a very similar background, like being radio hosts, jazz musicians. It needs to be a bit revamped so that there's a variety of people on the jury. Because how in the living hell is Germany at the bottom? Because Chris Harms was perfect vocally every single second of the performance. How the hell is Blanca Paloma being paid dust in her performance from the juries? Because I'm just baffled, because there's a lot of vocalists that finished rather low with the juries, who are perfect vocally, sang every single note perfectly in their song, performed the hell out of it. Like Blanca Paloma aired her last area every single second that she performed, and just how did the juries think Unicorn was better than, from the jury's viewpoint, than some of the songs? Like, why did Loreen run away with the victory of juries? How the hell is that 100 different points between her and Noah? Which is just ridiculous to me, because countries will be reverting back to basic pop songs for the next few years. We saw it happen in 2016 after Mons won, and then we have a Jamala surprise win. We are having a streak of a few winning songs that are very much not basic, but we have Jamala, we have Salvador. Not I don't know if I will call it basic, but there's a lot of harm going to the contest if the top 2 songs are basic pop songs that could be heard in the radio everywhere. I love Loreen. I think that was the deserving winner, that she performed the hell out of it, but I didn't see this as a very clear with them. There were some songs I thought will be very close to her. I'm very happy with how Italy did, and I thought he will bring some points from her. I thought Alika will come for her as well, and I'm happy that she did. I'm so surprised France did so poorly in the juries, because it's a shame, but yeah, unfortunately, Spain. As I thought, sorry, as I thought she will do some damage to Loreen. Monica, I thought she would also do some damage to Loreen as well. Even Alessandra, I was so surprised she did so poorly in the jury. I understand she wasn't vocally the best during the jury show, but still, she was rather low. And I'm happy for her either way that she did well. Then come to televote. This was, I don't say, a lot of countries this year from the televote in the final that didn't receive a lot of points. Like we saw, like most of the countries going like 20, 16, 80, because Finland just ate everything, everything televote wise. So for the big surprises, Joker Out finishing 21st, a big surprise. And also, it's a very big shame because they blew up a day after Eurovision. Like, Carpe Diem suddenly viral everywhere a day after Eurovision. I'm like, where the hell were you on Saturday? Spain the last in the vote, which was like a not a big surprise. I thought I kind of hoped she would do better, but 5 points. A shame. Happy that Croatia did so well as well, 100 something points as well, which did very much deserved, in my opinion. I thought Armenia would do better. Also doing badly, which is a very big shame. I'm really happy with Vesna being top 10. Alika 8, Belgium 7th. Very much big surprise from me was Australia doing so poorly in televote compared to the second semi-final. Winning the semi versus 25 points is just a very, very big difference. Very happy for Chi. We kind of expected them to do well in televote, but not do that great overall. But still, 6th place is amazing. So happy for Alessandra, finishing 5th, because there was some people who were talking about that. Maybe she won't do as well as people think, because the staging wasn't giving much as well. Marco Mangani, I thought that performance was stunning, beautiful, and everything what Marco did in that final, and bringing the queer flag to the Black Parade against Rai. He didn't even tell Rai about this. What he did, he was holding the Italian flag and he smooshed it into the Italian flag, and when he hid it in the Italian flag, he was like standing there with the flag there, and when he was leaving for the flag parade, he rolled out the flag, took out the queer flag, and which that's an amazing move for him to do. As a queer singer in Italy, it's a very much hard for him. And fun fact, Lorin matched her win. Marco did better than 2013. Monica did better than 2015. Pasha did worse than 2012, but he gained more points overall, which is also a win for him. Israel third is a sneak for me. Like I don't like. At one hand, I'm like, what the hell are you doing there, girl? At the other hand, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. We can such a bait for the audience, and everything she did well. The dance break as well. And the top 2. As much as I love Lorraine, I was so gutted for Carrie as well, because it's a bittersweet victory for Lorraine, because if not for the juries being so giving her so many points, he still did was a great competition for her, because at the end of the day, between her and Karia, it's only like 60, not even 60, it's like 57 points, which isn't like a big difference, looking at how much she ran away with the juries. Personally, I wanted Finland more to win, because I always root for countries that haven't won in a while. Like it's been 17 years since Finland won, and Finland has a bad history with Eurovision, that they are not doing that well in the contest. Carriers, I think this is their second ever top 3 finish as well, so that's just the shame that they're paid us in almost a way. But look at him; he will have an amazing career ahead of him. Lauren as well; she's doing so well in charts everywhere in Europe. Carrie as well. But yeah, we'll be seeing everyone next year in Sweden. We'll have to count how many jokes about matching Aaron's win we'll have to bear next year. We'll have to also predict the host city as well. I think it's going to be Stockholm and Friends Arena, because I don't see any other option now. And also, I'm very curious who will be hosting as well, because Petra isn't in Sverige TV anymore, so it'll be very interesting to see who might host. And overall, we have Junior Eurovision ahead of us. We have one artist announced, and Of course, I forgot about this. Luxembourg is back as well, which is which also will add spice to the competition. Hopefully, Australia also will be back because this was the last year for the contract. Hopefully, they will be there for stay. We also see some returnees. Probably North Macedonia probably will be coming back. We might see some withdrawals like Romania, which is a shame.
We're in
Well,
Sweden again, so Portugal is going to
I
withdraw.
was about to say,
as the
I
law.
was just about to say, we have to see if Portugal is withdrawing again, but I don't think they will because they are on such a great streak right now. Ever since they won, I don't think Portugal will be going, and I hope because Festival Cansalis and Mimikat was robbed. That's my opinion for Portugal this year as well.
I love immediately after the grand final, I think like the next day, Wiley was like, yeah, we're doing UMK again next year. Get ready.
Who?
Finland.
Finland,
They
yeah.
were like,
Yeah.
yep,
Mad as
they are
hell.
hungry for it.
Yeah.
And I
They
can't
were
wait
so
to see it.
close, and rightfully so. UMK is one of the best selections ever since they revamped it in 2020, and that's the team. That's the team. Finland will win.
Yeah.
I think the countries that are on a very big role right now are Finland, are Lithuania, because I can see Lithuania winning in the next like 2-3 years as well. Finland as well. So and also I think Serbia is on a very great role with Pesma as well. So we'll see. We'll see where we're going next year and who will win next year. I don't know. Maybe we'll see someone who maybe didn't do well this year and they just come back mad as hell and just start the competition. But yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching, and thank you for Helen and Angus for joining me. Hopefully this episode isn't too long. I hope team doesn't murder us for that. But yeah, we have a lot of opinions and a lot to talk about after the week that happened. It's
Yeah,
really,
we had to cram a full week into.
yeah. Maybe we can do another video about the whole jury situation, but I don't know if it's needed. We kind of say that revamp the juries, bring the juries back to the semifinals. For me, that's my opinion, and yeah, let's move on. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to check our website, that Eurovision site. Since we are like very much in the off season right now, we are looking for people. So sign up, join us. We are very lovely people. No dramas. I hope so. No dramas. And we are very, very, very lovely people. We also follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, TikTok. That's all. I think that's all. We also have a podcast, that Eurovision podcast, add that Euro podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, and the social media for the podcast are add that Euro podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I think that's everything for the outro. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye. See you in Sweden next year. Bye bye.